Welcome back. In the last video, I shared a story about one of my clients who had gone back to work after maternity leave and realized nothing fit at all. And it was really an uncomfortable time as she realized that who she was now with a baby and a working mom was very different from who she was before she had her child. So her story is just one version of a story about transition. So what I talk about here in these videos is all about change and how transitions, no matter what they are from, whether it's, becoming a new parent, whether it's having an empty nest, whether it's becoming a caregiver, whether it's moving countries, whatever the change might be, underneath what's happening is very similar. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, and hope that these examples will give you a little bit of an insight about how we navigate change. And really, how we navigate becoming our new self in our new scenario or new circumstance. So today I wanted to talk about the insight for my client that I spoke about last week that changed everything for her. And I hope that this will be something that you can also learn from and understand in your own current situation if you're going through some transitional change. When this client came to me, a lot of the things that she was talking about were that she didn't know who she was anymore. Things didn't feel like her old self. She felt a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. She was short. She was impatient with the people around her and just didn't feel like the way she was in her job previously was working for her anymore. And not only that, the hardest part was that she was finding a lot of that was carrying over into her home life because she was so frustrated with things at work that when she got home, that frustration carried over, and she was frustrated when things weren't working well at home either. So when my client came to me saying things like, I don't feel like myself anymore, I'm just always angry, it was very clear to me that she was in the midst of this transition and in the between who she was before and who she was becoming. So this was a time where I was able to support her in finding out who she was in this new reality. So she was talking about things like being exhausted from trying to fix everyone's problems, from doing that at home and doing it at work, and things just not happening smoothly. She was also really judging herself constantly because she was used to things flowing. They weren't flowing anymore. She wasn't happy about it. She didn't want to be doing, it's not that she didn't want to be doing the job. She wanted to feel the job to feel like it used to feel, and her home life to feel like it used to, but neither of them were. Ultimately, she felt really stuck, angry, and ashamed. She didn't like who she was becoming, and it was beginning to affect things in her relationships with her partner, her husband, and her family members. The thing is, what she didn't realize is that this wasn't anything that was wrong. What was really happening is that she was in transition. She wasn't failing. She was in what's called square one of the change cycle, which I've spoken about a lot, Martha Beck's change cycle. And I will put up the diagram again. I hope that you're getting used to seeing it now and you've screenshot it so you can refer to it. But this helps you know where you are in change, and it begins to allow you to settle into accepting that you are transitioning and there are jobs that you need to do at each of the stages. So in square one, or the first stage, this is where you're going through what's called death and rebirth. And this is where who you were before has to die. So your ideas, your patterns, your every way and thing that you did before has to be allowed to let go. And some of it already has. And then you're making space for what's coming next. And in the midst of all that, it's really important that you're allowing yourself to grieve what you're letting go of, even if it's things that, you're okay to let go of. But when your life changes and your regular patterns and routines and what you expected is no longer, that becomes really hard. So allowing yourself to know this is there's grieving needed is an important piece of the whole transition. But it's also knowing that you're not in the new way of being yet. That hasn't completely formed. And if you look at the change cycle, you can see that there are 4 squares. And it's not really until you get into square 3 that you're beginning to really get an idea of who you are, and you're trying and making the changes. So this process does take some time, and we need to be gentle with ourselves as we move through the stages. It's often really uncomfortable. There's a lot of emotions and disorienting. So when you're in square 1, what Martha Beck talks about is that this is a place where you are like in a cocoon. So allow yourself to be protected, allow yourself to have a lot of self-care and time that you need to allow things to shift and change as they need to. So the biggest insight that my client had was that she wasn't the problem. And what was changing was her identity. So her frustration, her distress that she was feeling, the anger wasn't who she was. It was just showing that she had outgrown who she was before and was just now moving into who she was becoming. So before maternity leave, her identity was based on being the reliable one, being the one who could have any system in place and make things go smoothly, being the one at home who could organize and get things, people to do what she needed to have done, and for things to go smoothly. She was the one who made things happen. So after becoming a mother, she wasn't the same person that she was, but she was trying to be the same person, and it wasn't working. And the gap between who she was and who she was becoming was where all this pain is that she was feeling was coming from. The gap between these 2 stages that she's in. So even though the circumstances of change might be different from you, the deeper work that we need to do through this change is universal to everybody. So the deeper work includes looking at questioning your long-held beliefs, releasing your old patterns, stop performing for others, reconnecting to who you are authentically now, and creating an identity that fits with who you are now in this new stage of your life. This is why I love Martha Beck's model. It really honors the truth. It is about you going back to who you are at your core. And this is the moment where everything you've outgrown is coming to the surface and is showing you that it's time to change these things. So if you're watching this and thinking, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm tired of carrying everyone else. I know what I should do, but I still freeze. I feel ashamed of how I'm showing up in my relationships. Why can other women love themselves and I can't? So these are some of the things that I've heard from my clients, some of the things that they're telling themselves that are repeating over and over and over. So when you feel and hear yourself saying this, you know that this is something that you are ready to let go of. And I want you to remember that you're not broken, you're not failing, and you're not behind. This is part of you transitioning. You're a growth-minded woman in transition, and transitions feel messy because you are changing everything as you know it. The insight from my client's story and every woman I've worked with is this: change doesn't take you away from yourself, it brings you back home. But first, it asks you to let go of things first. Your old identities, your old patterns, your old ways of thinking, your old expectations, your old relationships, and old ways of shrinking, pleasing, and trying to make things okay. That's what square 1 in the change cycle is for. It's a place for truth. It's a place for authenticity, and it's a place for finding out who you are now. In the next video, I'll guide you through a simple coaching exercise from Martha Beck's change cycle that will help you see clearly what parts of your old identity no longer fit you, what's no longer working, and what you're ready to step into. This is one of the most grounding, clarifying exercises I do with my clients, and I look forward to doing it with you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.